are, ladies and gents. Hereford Cathedral. And that's today's location for us. So I hope you're all going to enjoy this one.
There has been a place of worship on the cathedral site since at least the 8th century. Although no part of any building earlier than the 11th century bishop's chapel survives. The medieval cathedral was not monastic. The governing body, known as the dean and chapter, were not monks but secular priests, who led active lives in the world. They employed the vicar's choral, a body of clergy who lived a collegiate life in the vicar's cloister, to sing the daily services for them. The following chronology reflects significant dates in the development of the building and its community. 696. The traditional date for the founding of Hereford Cathedral. 794, Ethelbert, the young king of the East Angles, comes from eastern England to ask for the hand in marriage of the daughter of King Offa of Mercia, western England. Ethelbert is murdered by order of the king or of his queen. His remains are interred in Hereford Cathedral, and after his acclamation as a saint, the cathedral is dedicated to him jointly with the Blessed Virgin Mary. 1020 to 1040. Athelstan, 25th Bishop of Hereford, from 1015 to 1057, rebuilds the Saxon cathedral at Hereford. 1065, a rebel Welsh army destroys Athelstan's cathedral, Ethelbert's shrine, and many other treasures are lost. 1066, conquest of England by the Normans under William the Conqueror. 1107 to 1148. The cathedral is rebuilt in Norman or Romanesque style. This is the earliest type of architecture still visible in the cathedral today. Here, we're seeing images that show us how the Normans and medieval people built these great cathedrals. Built to the glory of God, and also to stamp the Norman mark on the country. And prove to the native Saxon population just how powerful the Normans were. These cathedrals served as a reminder to the English that you are now a subjugated people, as well as being built to the glory of God. We must remember that many native Saxon boys and men were basically forced into slave labor in the building of these great places of worship. The donkey work was done by the lower laboring classes. For the skilled work, Norman masons and master builders were brought in, such as Master Guy de Varenfroy, master builder. 1190s, and Hereford Cathedral has become an important national centre of learning and scholarship. It is believed that a school already existed at this time, making the cathedral school one of the oldest in the country. 1200 to 1220. During this time, it is likely that Bishop Giles de Braus commissioned Hereford's beautiful Limoges enamel reliquary to contain a relic of the murdered Archbishop, St Thomas Becket. It was lost during the Reformation, but returned to the cathedral in the early 19th century. Circa 1300. Mappa Mundi, the only complete world map of its kind to have survived, is made by Richard of Holdingham. As well as a map, it is a fascinating pictorial encyclopedia of the medieval world. It may have been made for Hereford Cathedral and has certainly been there for most of its life. It is now one of the cathedral's greatest treasures and a tourist attraction of international importance. And we will see this in our tour. 1320, Thomas Cantilupe, 45th Bishop of Hereford, who had died in 1282, is declared a saint by the Pope, and the cathedral is beautified and the north transept was extended to receive pilgrims to his shrine, which survived the Reformation and has been recently restored. And the fine reliquary tomb we see in part 2 of our tour is actually the tomb of St Thomas Cantilupe, and not a shrine to St Thomas Becket, as I originally thought. 1349, St Thomas's bones are transferred to a new shrine in the Lady Chapel in the presence of King Edward III. 1538, the Protestant Reformation under King Henry VIII. St Thomas's shrine in the Lady Chapel is destroyed and all its treasures removed. 1642 to 1649. The English Civil War between King Charles I and Parliament. Hereford is eventually captured by parliamentary forces after a long siege. Dean Herbert Croft preaches against the desecration of the cathedral by the parliamentary soldiers, who threaten to shoot him, but are prevented by their commander, Colonel Birch. 1786, the west tower of the cathedral collapses overnight on Easter Monday, the 17th of April. 1841 to 1863. Major restorations of the cathedral. 1996, Her late Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, opens the award-winning new library building at Hereford Cathedral, partly funded by Sir Paul Getty to house the Mappa Mundi, the chained library, and the modern library and archives. Now, join me inside the cathedral as we begin our tour.
Hereford Cathedral, ladies and gents. It's turning out to be a one for special ones today, isn't it, eh? I'm doing the inside views first and we'll do exterior afterwards. So, look at that. Cool, that's the major. Look at that. Let's take a picture of that. You've got some stunning stained glass in this one. There. Beautiful, that really is stunning. There's a lot to see in this one, so whether I'll do it in 30-minute increments. Inscription, Richard Burdill, Schoolmaster, 1492. Interesting. Civilian. Brass of Thomas Chandler, Dean of Hereford. 1490, scholar and artist, formerly the floor of the transept. You've got a fine tomb there as well. Some of them are labelled and some of them are not. Brass of John Stockton, Mayor of Hereford. Obviously I can't stop all of them because it would take too long. I wonder if this is one of the old doll cupboards, what they had years ago. Yeah, I think it is. That's interesting. And we're going to see a really famous object in a minute called the Mappa Mundi, the map of the world, which is the medieval people's interpretation of what the world looked like. Just pause for any of the inscriptions. All right, mate. George Cook. Son of Richard Coke of Charsley, Derbyshire, brother of Sir John Coke, Secretary of State to Charles I. Born October the 1st, 1570, Bishop of Bristol, 1632, translated to therefore, yeah. Choristers. He served in the War of 1914 to 1918. Oop, didn't see that. Nearly went down there. There are separate areas in chapels. We will look at the Mappa Mundi in a minute. It's just busy at the moment there. I may just do this in one long hit and then you can watch it in pieces as you choose. Obviously this ain't my nephew's cup of tea completely, so I'm not going to be able to spend hours in here, unfortunately. Because this is most assuredly a place that I could happily get lost in. The stained glass here is absolutely stunning, look. I thought that was the Black Prince at first, but I don't think it is. Could be wrong. That's a very fine tomb anyway. You've got more clergy and important people buried here. This is a lady. This one. No, it isn't. I beg your pardon. It might be. I don't know if it's a lady. I think it is a lady. She's wearing a wimple anyway. As you can see, we really are spoilt for choice here, so. This is the new stained glass in the Audley Chapel. Show you the architecture of the room first. See the cathedrals and abbeys, and ones that haven't been too badly botched around with. Like Westminster Abbey, they had lots of chantry chapels. This is the modern stained glass, which if you get closer to it you can see details of people, the town of Hereford, and nature. Nearly fell over then. Now we'll go and see if the Mappa Mundi is available. My shoe will start making that clicking noise, which is not very nice of it. I'll give you a walk around of this first. Here we see the Mappa Mundi, medieval man's interpretation of what the world looked like. And in the very centre of the world is Jerusalem, because that was viewed at the centre of the earth in those days as the holiest place on earth. So yes, sorry, fascinating. I can get a better picture of it from that angle. There's no reflection. Now, what way shall we go? Because there's a lot in this one. Memorials and things I will stop and take pictures of rather than focus on too much, unless they're very important, of course. Because, as I say, I only have a certain amount of time. And he's a good lad. I don't want him sitting in the car for hours. That wouldn't be fair. There will be a lot of photos for you to see and enjoy. I know some of you like the pictures, don't you? The whole thing would have to be in Latin, wouldn't it? In memoriam. Richard. Doors. A.M. Ecclesiae. Hereford. That's Bishop of Hereford, I think. These are tombs of knights, medieval knights. Architecture in this place is just amazing, isn't it? That's the education centre in there with its etched glass and everything, but the main thing I wanted to focus on is the windows. Sorry about that, I pressed the wrong button. Bishop, by the looks of it. Brass inscription to John Stanbury. His tomb is on your left. So we know he is John Stanbury. And he's wearing a bishop's mitre, so assume he is a bishop. Nice photograph of that. Another bishop here. Oh, it's all in Latin, I'm afraid. And this is the Stanbury Chapel. Which is a stunning room, really is. Look at that, that is absolutely amazing. This one has been on my list, wanting to visit for a very, very long time. Well, since I started the page really, but look at the stained glass, is beautiful. Pause you a sec. There we are, that's it. That's the Stanbury Chapel. More bishops along more bishops along there. Do beg your pardon, I've got a bit of a dry throat. Archaeology and creativity. Pause to read any descriptions like this. Tour, which is to a pretty amazing area, by the looks of it. We're going to be in now. And this here is the shrine, and I don't know whose relics are in here. Say it's a bit of an impromptu one today. Because we didn't know we was going to do this. Thomas Becket, is it? Prayers at the shrine, yeah, it's a shrine to St Thomas. St Thomas Becket. Salve Thomas Pastor Bonnet. And you've lovely stained glass windows to accompany it. I'm taking a lot of pictures in this one of all the stained glass, so if there's any stained glass that you particularly want to focus on, don't worry. You haven't missed it in the video. Jacob Astley. Attley. Sorry. Getting close to the windows like this gives us a chance to study more of it. Stunning. There's another one of these archaic heating systems here. Gurneys pattern. It's got the crown on top, I like that. Even in there, look, you've got fragments of the medieval stained glass. Which is lovely that they've been able to gather and collect and piece it back together to a degree. And this is a very impressive look. Even up there are stained glass windows, look. Oh, hello mate. Did you just speak to me?
Hmm?
Did you just say something to me?
Yeah.
Just, oh, sorry. I thought it was...
the clock tower.
Oh, you have?
It's not in the base.
Right.
How much have you done already?
All from round there, all round there.
You done the SAS bit there?
No, I'm going to be working, that bit's going to be last, yeah. Because it's obviously important, isn't it?
Is that a piano?
Organ, yeah.
Is that a big piano box?
Yeah. Yeah, the great church, the great organ.
Can I get you pay it?
No. You alright, yeah? Love this one. We'll cover the this aisle or area, then we'll give you the nave. And as I said to my nephew, the last thing I want to show you is the SAS Memorial, like we did with our last church. We're very much on an SAS theme today. Oh look, Carolus Boot, Bishop of Hereford, Charles Boot. See, look, he wears his bishop's ring, bishop's mitre. I think there probably would have been a crozier as well, possibly, but looks like it's been broken. I'm going to cover this area, then we're going to be doing the nave in a minute. Pause to read. And that's over there where my nephew is. Just for architecture wise alone, I mean, it speaks for itself, doesn't it? They give you a little glimpse of the nave, which is very, very special. These are called misericords. They were for the monks to rest during chanting and prayer times, in between chanting and prayers. I don't know exactly what misericord translates at. I think it's a seat of ease or something like that. But yeah, in between their prayers, because in those days Roman Catholic services would have gone on for hours, absolute hours, and they would be allowed to sit and rest in between, and this would be where the abbot would stand. And now the nave. Another organ there. Hereford was one of the first places of worship in England to have an organ. In Norman times, when the first church organs came about, they were small and quite portable. And Hereford and Durham were the first two to have organs. I won't be too much longer. Look at that ceiling, look. Eavesdroppers, these are called. You see them a lot in Hampton Court. Henry VIII had those put in Hampton Court to remind people that the king's ear was ever present, so watch what they said. All the saints. This, of course, is the high altar and the choir, just there. Very impressive. This is a more newer installation, this one here. I'll be done in a minute, mate.
Yes, alright, I'm not rushing you.
John Percival, Bishop of Hereford. Oh no, it's Spencer Percival I'm thinking of. He was the only British Prime Minister to ever be assassinated in the House of Commons. 1812. It was a really bad year, 1812. Particularly if... You are? Yeah. Right, we've just this bit to do now then. End off with the SAS Memorial, outside views, and then we're going to our next location, which is the SAS Clock Tower.
Don't get much views outside though.
That's fine.
I'll show you what I mean.
Yeah. What do you mean here outside?
Yeah.
Oh, that's alright.
Getting it from the car, because you get a further view.
Oh, right.
That's where the building's so tall.
Yeah. Flags up there, look, Battle of Britain, that one. Oh, yeah. There will be, but the public generally aren't allowed up into some of them, like St Paul's, you can climb right up to the top of the dome and all that. Have you ever been to St Paul's?
No.
Right, I don't know. Unless you... You are? 6 times.
Did you get the SAS video? There's a memorial.
Yeah, there is an SAS Memorial there. The tomb of Richard Pembridge and the mystery of the third leg. Oh, what's that about then? So I read, Sir Richard Pembridge died 1375, was a Herefordshire knight who fought in battles of Crecy and Poitiers. King Edward III made him Knight of the Garter. When this alabaster tomb was constructed, the effigy correctly showed him wearing a garter insignia on his left leg. The right leg was damaged during the 17th century and most likely during the Civil War. A replacement wooden leg, now displayed nearby, wrongly included a garter. A new alabaster leg without a garter was commissioned in the 19th century by Lord Say and Sir Archdeacon of Hereford. That's interesting, isn't it? He lost his original leg. I wonder where the leg is. Richard Pembridge. Oh. I'm wondering where the damn leg is. Look, it's there. And in the archetypical words of my grandmother, if that had teeth, boy, it would have bitten you. I read that sign, Brandon, saying that Richard Pembridge's leg is nearby, and I went, oh, I wonder where his leg is, looking around. There's the leg.
It's not the actual leg, is it?
No, it's this statue was damaged in the Civil War. They made a new leg out of wood, and it's got a garter on it, and they did it wrong because they would have made him 2 garters, so they took the leg off and done it again, and that's the mystery of the third leg. Don't you laugh at stuff like that? Huh? Yeah, yeah, that's what they've probably done it as a pun, haven't they? Funny thing is, medieval people in churches, some of their jokes were quite naughty. The monks would like a naughty joke and a drink and stuff. Oh, that's lovely, look at that. Colour coming through that. Now we're going to be finishing off with the SAS Memorial. Just have a quick look at this. 1876 anniversary frontal, reputedly embroidered for the 1200th anniversary of Hereford Diocese. That's it, it's better. It's about as good as we're going to get it anyway with the sun. Yeah, do you want? I've got some money on me, do you want it? I'll do that once I finish the video, mate, yeah? Special Wear Service Memorial. This is the main thing that we both really wanted to come here and see, really. But obviously the cathedral, well, just a bonus. And I've been able to cover it all in one video. Always a little further. As we saw in the graveyard at St Martin's. And that lady, oh, the font. We'll finish with the font. I forgot to cover that. The font. Might be.
I think it must have been a christening today because it's all wet.
Where? Oh, yeah. Oh, it could be, yeah. That's the font. Could have been, mate. Look at that, and that's a medieval font with its griffin lions. Yeah, don't lift it up. I did that once and nearly broke one. Sorry, mate. Cheers. I won't there, sorry, mate. Cheers. That's it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Hereford Cathedral. And as I said, I would end off with the SAS, so I have. I hope you've all enjoyed and found this one interesting. Thanks for watching.
Before you join me for a walk around the cloister, plus some exterior views, as we finish our tour. A bloody fascinating archaeological discovery, which tells of the cathedral's pre-Norman roots and the particularly violent end for one Saxon male individual. The archaeological report and images. In late 2016, early 2017, Headland Archaeology's Midlands and West Office undertook archaeological work in connection with improvements to buildings and facilities in the college cloisters. Beside Hereford Cathedral, during the excavation the remains of 3 skeletons were discovered and have been radiocarbon dated to the 7th and 8th centuries, prior to the Norman conquest of England. This is a particularly exciting discovery, as out of the thousands of burials, 2,456 to be exact, excavated around the cathedral, only one other has been securely dated to the same period. The skeletons were found at a depth of nearly 2 meters, within an area formerly occupied by the 15th century Custos Lodge. Post-excavation analysis of the skeletons revealed that there was 1 male, 1 female, and 1 juvenile. The male, who was between 35 to 46 years old when he died, had suffered at least 4, possibly 5, blade injuries, 2 of which would have been fatal in their own right. Only one of the injuries, a possible cut above the left elbow, shows traces of healing, indicating that the other injuries were inflicted around the time of death. 2 of these injuries could have been killing blows. The most minor of the blade wounds was a small cut across the right thumb. More serious is a stab wound to the left ribs, between the 8th and 9th ribs. While he could have potentially survived this, it would have resulted in a punctured lung, spleen, or stomach. First potentially fatal blow was a literal stab in the back, inflicted with a very sharp, narrow blade. It cut through the left shoulder blade first before severing the middle of the spine at the 7th and 8th vertebrae. You can see where the tip of the blade struck the 9th vertebra. This injury would almost certainly have been fatal, and at the very least would have caused paralyzed legs had the victim survived. The second and final fatal injury was a very powerful blow to the head from behind with an edged weapon. The blade cut through the skull into the brain and would have been almost immediately fatal. The sheer force of the blow was so strong it broke the back of his head and deformed the skull around the point of impact. Radiocarbon dating of the skeleton's right kneecap revealed that this man lived between 680 to 780 AD, placing him at a key point in the history of Hereford's development. Historical sources record that at the beginning of the 8th century the Welsh were troubling the English with their attacks. In 743 the kings of Mercia and Wessex campaigned together against the Welsh, and reference is made to the frequent violent skirmishes which took place between the 2 forces during the period. Although little detail of the event is known, several Welsh sources record a Battle of Hereford taking place in AD 760. Given the violent death of this man, it could be speculated that he was involved in these battles. Given that he has a potentially healed injury to his elbow, it is also a possibility that it wasn't his first time on the battlefield, although it was certainly his last. Luke Craddock Bennett, project manager, said, "This is an incredibly important burial in the history of our city. It takes us back to the origins of Hereford, before Offa's had been constructed and when it was a vulnerable settlement on the frontier between Mercia and the Welsh. This individual suffered an incredibly violent end, more than likely in battle." The Dean of Hereford, the Very Reverend Michael Taverner, said, "We have long suspected that the earliest cathedral in Hereford was located in the vicinity of College Cloisters. With this burial we now have another key piece of evidence to indicate that this is indeed the case." Now, join me for some exterior views of the cathedral, plus views of the cloister gardens. And the Cathedral Library and Archives building, closed on the Sunday we visited. But luckily, we still got to see the Mappa Mundi.
There's this cloister garden and that. I'll just take a quick view of that quickly. castle, look, because it would have been abbot's lodgings and everything originally years ago. Nice area to sit. Lovely. So that wasn't the end of it. St John's Walk. William Vanderhorst. Oh, I didn't know he was here. Excellent. Look at the old ceiling. That's amazing. I love anything like this, as you can probably gather. It's a collection of cast stones. Look. St John's Walk. White ceilings. And there is the boy child, Brandon, or 25-year-old. I'll give you a little walk around of this close. As I say, I'm not going to get the chance to do this again, so you'll have to wait. Kid will have to wait. I'll only be a few minutes anyway. As you can see, it's a beautiful building. Lovely. There's another church spire over there as well. This is its... Ah. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our tour. Hope you've all enjoyed.